Taya stood at the edge of the valley long before the sun rose. The sky was still dark blue, with only a thin line of gold showing on the horizon. Her tribe's camp behind her was quiet, but she knew it would not stay quiet for long. Everyone was preparing to leave that morning. They planned to travel north, away from the dry valley, and toward the safer mountain areas, where water and food were easier to find. It was a journey she had taken many times, and she knew the path well. But this time, she felt different. Her heart was heavy. Her thoughts were not on the trail ahead, but on the quiet ranch that lay far across the open land. She held her small pack close to her chest and took a deep breath. She knew what she was about to do would surprise everyone. Her people expected her to follow them, as she always had, but she felt something pulling her in another direction, something she could not ignore. She remembered the day everything changed, the day she met Elias, the rancher who lived alone on the edge of the valley. Months earlier, she had injured her ankle while gathering plants. She tried to make it back to camp, but the pain grew worse. She finally collapsed under a tree not far from the ranch. She remembered lying there, tired and unable to move. When she heard footsteps, Elias appeared, riding his horse slowly as if he did not want to frighten her. His voice was gentle. He asked if she needed help. Taya had always been taught to be careful around strangers, but something in his eyes told her he meant no harm. He carried her to his horse and took her to his home. He gave her clean water, wrapped her ankle carefully, and stayed quiet so she could rest. He offered kindness without expecting anything in return. That moment stayed in her heart. She had returned to her tribe once she healed, but she found herself thinking about the rancher often, the way he listened, the way he respected her space, the way he spoke softly, almost as if he was afraid of disturbing her thoughts. It was rare to see someone so quiet, yet so steady. Now, as her tribe prepared to leave the valley, she felt torn. She knew many people in her tribe cared for her. She knew the traditions, the songs, and the stories she grew up with. But she also knew her future could not be shaped by fear or doubts from others. Her tribe had been struggling. Resources were small. Disagreements were rising. And people were tired. She believed she could help build something new, something that connected her world with the rancher's peaceful life. The sun finally broke through the horizon. Birds began chirping. A few people in camp started moving around, preparing the horses and packing supplies. Taya knew she had to make her decision now. She whispered a quiet goodbye to the land where she had spent her childhood, then turned and walked away from the path her people were taking. Her steps were steady, even as her heart raced. The journey to Elias's ranch was long, but she walked without stopping. The early morning breeze brushed against her hair, and the dry grass crackled beneath her feet. She felt nervous, not because she feared the rancher, but because she didn't know how he would react. She hadn't told him she was coming. She didn't even know if he would want her there. All she knew was that she needed to try. She needed to follow the feeling inside her that told her she belonged somewhere peaceful, somewhere she could make a difference. By the time she reached the ranch, the sun was high. Elias was outside repairing a broken fence post. His hat was pulled low, and he was focused on his work. He didn't notice her at first. Taya stopped a few steps away, unsure how to speak. She cleared her throat gently. Elias looked up. For a moment, he froze. He seemed unsure if what he was seeing was real. Taya stood quietly, her hands at her sides, her small pack still hanging from her shoulder. She waited. "Are you all right?" Elias finally asked, stepping closer. His voice held surprise but also concern. He glanced around, as if expecting her tribe to appear behind her. "Did something happen?" Taya took a slow breath. She spoke simply, choosing each word with care. She told him she was not in danger. She explained that she had chosen to stay in the valley, but not with her tribe. Elias listened silently, not interrupting. She told him she came because she felt safe near him, because she believed his peaceful land could be a place where she could build a new kind of life, and because she felt she could help him the way he once helped her. Elias stood completely still. His hands, rough from years of ranch work, hung loosely by his sides. His eyes softened, and he lowered his hat slowly, showing respect. He told her she didn't owe him anything, and that he never expected her to return. But he also told her she was welcome not as a burden or someone needing charity, but as a person with her own strength and choices. Taya felt a quiet warmth spread through her chest at his words. She looked around the ranch. The house was small but sturdy. The barn was old but strong. The land was wide and peaceful, full of potential. She could see herself working here, living here, and finding a purpose deeper than anything she had known. But she also knew choosing this path would not be easy. Her tribe would wonder why she left. Some might feel hurt. Others might be angry. She knew some neighbors around the valley might judge her too, simply because she looked different or spoke in a different way. She knew whispers traveled fast in small places. Still, she felt calm. She asked Elias if she could help with the ranch work. She didn't want to sit and watch him labor alone. He smiled a little, a soft, quiet smile that showed both relief and gratitude. He nodded and gave her simple tasks. She began feeding the chickens, checking the water troughs, and helping gather tools. She moved with confidence, using skills she learned from her tribe but adjusting them to the ranch environment. Throughout the day, Elias glanced at her from time to time, as if still surprised she was there. She worked steadily, feeling each moment settle into her heart like pieces of a new home. As the sun lowered, she stood near the fence and looked at the mountains where her tribe would now be traveling. For a moment, she wondered if they missed her yet. If someone noticed she was gone, if they thought she would come running back, but she didn't feel regret. Her decision was clear. Elias approached quietly, as he always did. He told her she could stay as long as she wished. He said she didn't have to explain anything today or tomorrow. She only needed to be herself. That simple promise meant more to her than any long speech. Taya nodded, feeling a gentle comfort she had not expected. She didn't choose Elias because he was strong or impressive. She chose him because of his calmness, his steady way of caring without forcing her to be anything she wasn't. She believed she could grow in this place, find new meaning, and build something worthwhile. As night settled over the ranch, Taya felt a sense of peace she had never felt before. She didn't know the challenges that would come. She didn't know how her tribe would react or how the valley would respond. But she did know one thing clearly. She had made her choice with a brave heart. And the journey she had just begun would change more lives than she could possibly imagine. The next morning on the ranch began slowly. A soft light filled the sky, and the quiet sound of animals waking up drifted through the air. Taya stepped outside the small guest room Elias had given her, feeling the cool breeze touch her face. She could hear the gentle clucking of the chickens and the steady breathing of the horses inside the barn. Everything felt calm, almost peaceful. But she knew her life had changed in a big way. She was no longer with her tribe. She had chosen a different path, and now she had to learn how to walk on it. Elias was already awake, working near the barn. He greeted her with a small nod. The same respectful nod he always gave. He didn't ask many questions. He didn't push her to explain more than she wanted. That simple behavior made her feel safe. She joined him without hesitating and asked what she could do to help. He gave her simple tasks at first, showing her how to check the fences, where to place the feed buckets, and how to handle the young calf that always tried to run away. She listened carefully. Her movements were steady, and her hands were gentle. Even though the work was new, her calm nature seemed to fit the ranch rhythm almost naturally. As they worked side by side, Elias noticed something. Taya did not complain. She did not rush. She didn't fear dirt or effort. She treated each animal with respect, moving slowly and speaking softly to them. It was the same gentle strength he had seen months ago when he found her injured near the tree. She had a quiet bravery that didn't need loud words or big actions. It showed in the small things, the way she held a frightened chicken or the way she stepped carefully around the calf so she wouldn't scare it. But even with the peaceful routine, trouble was already growing outside the ranch. By midday, 2 riders appeared near the road leading to Elias's land. They seemed tense, moving with urgency. Taya saw them first. Her heart tightened when she recognized them. They were members of her tribe, 2 young men who often traveled as messengers. They saw her too, and stopped their horses immediately. Elias walked up beside her silently. He didn't step in front of her. He didn't speak for her. He simply stood nearby in case she needed support. Taya appreciated that more than words. The two riders dismounted quickly. Their expressions showed surprise, frustration, and confusion all at once. They asked her why she had not joined the tribe on their journey north. They wanted to know why she was here, helping a rancher instead of traveling with her people. Their voices were not angry, but they were sharp. They truly didn't understand. Taya answered calmly. She told them she had chosen to stay in the valley. She told them she wanted to help Elias on the ranch and learn new skills. She explained that she had plans to build a better understanding between her tribe and the people who lived near the valley. Her words were clear but gentle. The riders listened, but their eyes showed doubt. They warned her that others in the tribe would not agree with her choice. They said some might think she had been influenced or pressured. Others might fear she would forget her roots or her identity. Taya shook her head. She knew who she was. Staying with Elias did not erase her past. It simply added to her future. Elias stepped forward very slightly. With a calm voice, he told the visitors that Taya was free. He had not forced her to stay. He had not expected her arrival. He made it clear that she was treated with respect and had full choice in everything she did. His voice was steady, and the riders seemed surprised to hear such a direct statement from a man known for being quiet. The riders eventually left, saying they would relay her message to the tribe. Taya watched them go. She felt a mix of sadness and determination. She knew her decision would spread quickly. She also knew it would create tension. But she stood tall, feeling Elias's steady presence beside her. Later, when the sun started sinking, Elias brought 2 chairs to the small yard in front of the house. He didn't usually sit outside like this, but tonight he wanted to give her space to speak if she wished. They sat quietly for a while, listening to the wind and watching the sky turn orange. Taya finally spoke. She told him she expected more visitors. She told him people might judge her and question her decisions. She explained that some neighbors might wonder why a young woman from a different background was living on a ranch with a quiet man who lived alone. She didn't want him to suffer because of her presence. Elias shook his head gently. He told her she didn't cause trouble. People talked no matter what. He said he had lived alone long enough to know that silence sometimes created more rumors than truth. He told her that helping her was not a burden. It was a choice he made freely, just as she had made hers. His words eased her heart. Over the next few days, life on the ranch settled into a steady pattern. Taya woke early to gather eggs, sweep the barn floor, and help prepare water for the animals. Elias worked on repairing fences, cutting firewood, and planning for the coming season. They talked only when needed, but the silence between them was comfortable. It felt like 2 people learning to breathe at the same gentle pace. However, the valley was not as quiet as the ranch. Word spread. A few neighbors rode by, pretending they were passing through, but their eyes lingered on Taya. Some offered polite greetings, some stayed silent, some whispered to each other. None of them understood why she had left her tribe. None understood what she hoped to build. One afternoon, an older neighbor named Mr. Leland visited the ranch. He was known for having strong opinions and for speaking loudly about things he didn't understand. He saw Taya helping Elias fix the barn door and asked Elias privately whether she belonged there. He asked if she was causing trouble. Elias answered simply she was working hard, showing respect, and helping him more than many others had. That answer surprised the neighbor. But he nodded slowly. Maybe not everyone would judge her harshly. Still, every small whisper and glance reminded Taya that she had stepped into a space between 2 worlds. Her tribe was unsure about her choice. The ranch neighbors didn't know her story. She belonged to both worlds and neither at the same time. But instead of feeling lost, she felt a strange strength rising within her. She realized that if she wanted to stay, she would have to earn trust through her actions quietly, patiently. One evening, after the day's work was done, Taya walked to the far edge of the ranch. The land stretched wide, and the sky above was purple with fading light. She crouched down and touched the soil. It felt dry but not hopeless. She imagined planting something here. Something small. Something meaningful. A sign of beginning. She knew her future would not be easy, but she also knew she was capable of building something beautiful step by step. When she returned to the house, Elias was sitting by the porch steps sharpening a tool. He looked up and asked if she was all right. Taya nodded. She told him she wanted to learn more about the ranch, not just the chores, but everything that made the land work. He smiled faintly and agreed to teach her. As night settled in, she felt a new kind of determination. She did not only want to live on the ranch. She wanted to help it grow. She wanted to show her tribe that staying did not mean turning away from them. She wanted to show the neighbors that kindness could build bridges stronger than fear. What she didn't know yet was that her quiet decisions, her steady work, and her brave patience would soon create something that shocked everyone, her tribe, the valley, and even Elias himself. But that moment was still ahead. For now, she focused on the land, the work, and the hope growing quietly inside her. The days on the ranch began to blend into a steady rhythm. Morning light, soft chores, quiet meals, and long evenings filled with silence that wasn't uncomfortable. But even as everything seemed calm, Taya carried a private plan deep inside her heart. One she had not shared with Elias or anyone else. It wasn't because she wanted to hide anything, she simply wanted to finish it before explaining it. She believed that some ideas made more sense when shown rather than spoken. Every day, after finishing the main chores, Taya walked to the far side of the ranch. It was the quietest part of the land, a place Elias didn't visit often. A dried creek bed curved through the ground, and beside it stood an old shed. The shed had probably been built long before Elias took over the ranch. Its wooden walls were worn, the roof had holes, and the door hung on one hinge. Most people would have ignored it. But to Taya, it felt like the perfect place to begin something new. The first time she stepped inside, dust floated through the sunlight, and the wooden floor creaked under her feet. The air smelled of old tools and forgotten years. She closed the door gently, knelt down, and touched the ground. It felt cold, but strong enough to hold something important. She could see it clearly in her mind. This place could become meaningful, not just for her, but for others. She started cleaning slowly. She swept dust into piles, moved broken boards outside, and collected small tools that could still be used. She worked with quiet focus, her hands steady even when the tasks were tiring. Every evening, she returned to the shed after finishing the day's ranch work. She cleaned a little more, repaired another part of the wall, straightened the roof piece by piece, and arranged stones from the dry creek to make the walkway stable again. Elias noticed she disappeared for an hour each day, but he didn't follow her. He trusted her choices. That was one of the things that made Taya feel sure about her decision to stay. He didn't question her every step. Still, he occasionally watched from a distance, just to make sure she was safe, though he never interrupted. While she cleaned the shed, she remembered things from her tribe, the stories told beside the campfire, the ways they used to decorate their homes, the symbols carved on stones, and the peaceful circular gathering spots they made from earth and wood. She wanted to bring some of that spirit to the ranch. Not to replace Elias's way of life, but to blend the two worlds in a respectful way. She gathered small items her tribe had left behind near their last camp, a few dried seeds, carved beads, and pieces of fabric. Each item held a memory, and she wanted the shed to hold both her heritage and her new beginning. One afternoon, after several days of secret work, Elias found Taya carrying a stack of old wooden planks. He didn't question her. Instead, he walked over and offered to carry the heavier pieces. She shook her head softly at first, wanting to do the project on her own. But Elias insisted, only because he didn't want her to hurt herself lifting the heavier boards. Taya finally agreed, and together they carried the pieces to the edge of the ranch where she usually disappeared. He didn't ask what she was building. He simply placed the planks near the shed and stepped back, waiting for her to speak if she wished. But Taya stayed quiet. She thanked him politely, and Elias nodded before walking back to his usual chores. He had always respected her silence, and she respected his. Inside the shed, Taya spent hours repairing the walls. She found old nails, straightened them with a rock, and hammered them back into place. She tied wooden beams with rope to support the weak corners. She patched the roof with dried grass and old cloth, sealing small gaps so sunlight wouldn't pour through. The shed slowly transformed from a broken space into a safe shelter. Each improvement brought her more hope. During this time, Taya also visited the dry creek each morning. She dug small patches with her hands, loosening the earth. She mixed dry soil with bits of richer dirt she found near the barn. She had a plan for the seeds she collected. If they grew, they would give color to the ranch and remind everyone that two different worlds could live side by side. Meanwhile, whispers continued to spread. Some neighbors wondered why Elias had taken in a woman from the tribe. Others thought Taya was only there temporarily. A few even suggested she might return to her tribe soon. None of them knew the quiet work she was doing on the edge of the ranch. One day, an elderly neighbor named Mrs. Avery came to visit. She brought warm bread and stayed near the porch while Elias talked to her. She saw Taya walking from the far side of the ranch, with dust on her hands and a tired but peaceful expression. Mrs. Avery noticed she wasn't standing behind Elias, nor hiding from her. Instead, she walked confidently, carrying tools like she belonged there. The old woman watched her closely, not with judgment, but with curiosity. As Taya approached, Mrs. Avery greeted her kindly. Taya responded with a soft smile. She thanked her for the bread and offered to bring fresh eggs the next day in return. The elderly woman seemed surprised by her politeness and simple honesty. Maybe, she thought, the young woman wasn't a stranger after all. When the neighbor left, Taya felt a small sense of relief. She knew not everyone would accept her quickly, but every friendly face made her heart lighter. Still, she kept working on the shed, believing her project would help others understand her true intentions. Days passed. The shed looked cleaner, brighter, and more welcoming. On the outside, she arranged stones into simple patterns, similar to the ones her tribe used to mark peaceful gathering spots. On the inside, she placed tools on shelves, hung handmade decorations, and prepared small spaces for drying herbs. She even carved a symbol on the entrance, a simple circle representing unity. It wasn't a tribal mark or a ranch mark. It was something new, just like her life. Late one evening, after finishing her work, she sat outside the shed and looked at the sky. The stars were bright, and the air was calm. Elias walked toward her, his steps steady. He didn't ask what she was doing there. He simply asked if she had eaten. She had not. He offered to prepare a simple meal. She stood up and followed him back, feeling a warm sense of gratitude. She appreciated that he didn't push her for explanations. That simple patience gave her the space she needed. The next morning, while she was gathering branches to reinforce part of the shed, she heard Elias call her name. His voice sounded different, serious, almost worried. She walked quickly toward him and saw 3 riders approaching the ranch. Her heart jumped. She recognized them immediately. They were members of her tribe, older and more respected than the messengers who had come earlier. She knew this meant something important. Her tribe had been discussing her choice, and now they had come to see for themselves. Taya wiped her hands on her skirt, feeling her pulse quicken. She wasn't afraid of her people, but she knew this moment would shape everything that came next. Elias stood beside her, silent but supportive. His presence felt steady, like a strong tree in a rising wind. As the riders came closer, Taya straightened her back. She was ready to speak for herself. She had built something meaningful. She had a plan. She had a peaceful vision in her heart. What she didn't know was how her tribe would react when they discovered the shed she had rebuilt in secret. And she didn't know how deeply her work would affect both the ranch and the valley. But she was ready. She had created something with her own hands, something born from 2 worlds. And soon, everyone would see it. The morning felt heavier than usual. A quiet breeze moved across the ranch, but Taya could feel a different kind of air around her, an air filled with tension and expectations. The 3 riders from her tribe approached slowly, their expressions unreadable. They were elders, respected voices, people who rarely left the main group unless something important needed attention. Their presence meant the tribe had spent days discussing her decision, and now they wanted answers directly from her. Elias stood beside her. Not too close, and not too far. He didn't want to make her feel like he was speaking for her, but he also didn't want her to face the situation alone. His calm presence made her feel steady, even as her hands lightly trembled. The elders stopped their horses a few steps away. Their faces were serious, not angry, but full of concern. The oldest one, a man named Cowboy, stepped down first. He had known Taya since she was a child. He had taught her how to track animal paths and how to make small tools. He looked at her now with eyes that searched for the truth behind her choices. "Taya," he said softly, "we have traveled far to understand why you left us without a word. Many in the tribe feared something had happened to you." Taya kept her shoulders straight. She knew she did not owe excuses, but she did owe clarity. She told them she was safe. She told them she had made the choice by her own heart. She explained how the ranch had become a place of peace for her, a place where she felt she could build something new instead of just repeating the same struggles year after year. Another elder, a woman with silver hair named Sani, stepped forward. She had always been protective of the younger women in the tribe. She looked at Taya with a mixture of worry and confusion. "Why here?" Sani asked. "Why with a rancher? Our people face hard times. We need every strong mind with us." Taya did not feel defensive. She understood their concern. Her tribe was family. Their worry came from love, not judgment. She explained that she wasn't abandoning her people. She wanted to bring something helpful back to them, something that could connect their world to the ranchers and settlers around the valley. She didn't want her tribe to live in constant fear of the outside world. She wanted them to have allies, not enemies. She wanted understanding, not distance. The elders exchanged long looks. Her words were honest, but they couldn't see her vision yet. To them, this ranch was just a piece of land, and Elias was just a quiet rancher. They needed to understand more. Elias spoke next, his voice steady. He made sure his tone was respectful, not forceful. He told the elders he had not pressured Taya. He told them she was free to come and go. He told them she worked hard and showed responsibility every day. He told them he valued her presence and would support her choices, whatever they were. The elders listened quietly, surprised by his calm and plain honesty. Still, tension lingered in the air. Taya knew this moment mattered. She knew words alone would not change deeply held concerns. So she did the only thing she believed would truly explain her heart. She invited them to follow her. The elders, unsure of her intention, exchanged curious glances. Elias stepped aside, letting her lead. She walked ahead, guiding them toward the far side of the ranch, toward the old shed she had been repairing in secret for many days. Her steps were slow but certain. As they reached the dry creek bed, the sunlight fell on the newly rebuilt structure. The shed no longer looked abandoned. The patched roof shone softly. The walls were straight. The walkway she had created with creek stones formed a welcoming path. The elders stopped. Their eyes widened, not with fear, but with surprise. Taya walked forward and opened the shed door. Inside, the air smelled faintly of dried herbs she had gathered. The walls were decorated with simple patterns, made from stones and beads. On the shelves, she had arranged tools used both by her tribe and by Elias. The space wasn't large, but it felt full of meaning. "This is what I have been building," she said quietly. She explained how she wanted this place to become a bridge between two worlds. A space where her tribe could come to trade goods, learn new methods, and share their own knowledge. A space where ranchers could understand her people instead of fearing them. She told them it could be the first peaceful meeting place in the valley. A place with no weapons, no fear, and no harsh words. She showed them the seeds she had prepared. Some were from plants her tribe used for healing. Some were plants Elias used for food. She wanted to grow a small garden behind the shed, carefully chosen plants that represented both sides. As she spoke, her voice didn't shake. She didn't defend herself. She simply shared her vision. The elders stepped inside slowly. They touched the beads, the shelves, the polished stones she had set carefully into the floor. Their fingers traced the circular symbol above the doorway. It was simple, but meaningful, a sign of unity. Cowboy, the oldest of them, breathed out slowly. He had not expected this. Few from the tribe would have imagined Taya could create something so thoughtful, so patient, so full of hope. Sani walked around the shed quietly. She looked at the dried herbs and the careful arrangement of tools. She placed her hand on one of the wooden beams Taya had repaired. Her eyes softened. She finally understood that this was not a place for hiding or running away. It was a place for growing. Another elder spoke gently. "This is more than work. This is a message." Taya nodded. She told them she wanted her tribe to have a safe place to come when they traveled near the valley. She wanted them to feel welcome on the ranch. She wanted trade, trust, and small steps toward understanding. The elders slowly began to see what she meant. Her choice to stay wasn't selfish. It was brave. It was thoughtful. She wasn't turning away from her people. She was trying to build a future where they wouldn't have to be afraid or isolated. Elias stepped inside the shed only after the elders had explored it. He looked around with quiet amazement. He hadn't known the full extent of her work. He had seen her repairing the shed, but he hadn't imagined she was creating something so important. His voice was soft when he finally spoke. She did all this on her own. The elders nodded. They could see it now. This wasn't just a project. It was a bridge. After a long silence, Cowboy turned to Taya. His voice was steady but gentle. "You have grown more than we understood. You offer us something new. Something we did not expect," Sani added softly. "Your path is not against us. It may help us." Even then, they didn't give immediate approval. They said they needed to discuss everything with the rest of the tribe. They needed time. But they no longer looked at Taya with confusion or fear. They looked at her with respect, new respect earned through her work. As the elders rode away, Taya stood near the shed, watching them disappear across the valley. She didn't know what their decision would be, but she felt lighter. She had shown her truth, not with arguments but with action. Elias stood beside her. He didn't speak for a time, giving her space to breathe. Then he said gently, "Whatever happens next, you've already built something good." Taya looked at the shed, at the garden area she had prepared, and at the path of stones. She realized she had created something much bigger than she first imagined, and she knew her next steps would shape not just her life, but maybe the future of the valley. The following days passed slowly, each one filled with quiet waiting. Taya continued her chores as usual, feeding the chickens, helping repair the fences, and collecting water. Elias stayed beside her with the same steady calm he always showed, but even he felt the tension hanging in the air. They both knew the elders would return with an answer: approval, disapproval, or something in between. But Taya didn't let the uncertainty stop her. She kept working on the shed. She added more shelves, swept the floor again, and organized the tools so the space looked inviting. She planted the seeds behind the shed in a neat row, pressing each one into the soil gently with her thumbs. She spoke to the earth in a soft, hopeful whisper, the way her tribe had taught her, asking it to grow strong. She tried to stay focused on her vision, but at night, her thoughts felt heavier. What if her tribe rejected her idea? What if they saw her work as betrayal? What if they believed she was choosing the ranch over her people in a way that offended them? She knew she had not abandoned her roots. Her heart carried both worlds with equal love. Still, fear crept into her chest at times. She wondered what future awaited her if her tribe refused the idea of unity. Elias noticed the quiet worry on her face but didn't push her to talk. Instead, he worked a little closer to her, carried heavier loads so she didn't tire herself, and made small adjustments to the ranch so she wouldn't have to do everything alone. He wasn't trying to solve her worries. He just wanted to make sure she didn't feel alone in them. One afternoon, while they were repairing a wooden gate near the road, they heard distant hoofbeats. Both of them looked up. 3 riders approached. But this time, There were more horses behind them. As the group came closer, Taya recognized many familiar faces, men and women from her tribe, elders and younger members alike. Her heart began to pound. The entire ranch seemed to hold its breath. Elias put down his tools and stood beside Taya. He didn't speak. He didn't move ahead of her. He simply waited. The horses came to a stop, and the tribe members stepped down. The elders from before were at the front, Cowboy, Sani, and the third elder. They walked toward Taya with calm expressions. No anger, no frustration, something else, something thoughtful. Taya stepped forward. Her hands were steady now, even though her heart raced. Cowboy spoke first. "We have talked for many days," he said. "We listened to the young ones, the middle ones, the old ones. We listened to fear, and we listened to hope." The people behind him nodded slightly. Taya looked at all their faces. Some appeared uncertain. Some looked curious. Some looked proud. Cowboy continued. "You have done something none of us expected. You showed us that you did not leave us. You showed us that you are building a path back to us." Quote, Sani stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but clear. "Some feared you wanted to become someone else. But this place," she gestured toward the shed, "shows that you carry our spirit inside you still. You made something that welcomes both sides. You built with our hands and the rancher's world together." Taya felt a warm pressure behind her eyes, like tears wanting to fall, but she held them back. She needed to hear everything fully. The third elder added, "We are not ready for everything to change. But we are ready to begin. And you have shown us the first step." Sani then said the words Taya had hoped for, but dared not expect. "We will accept this place as a meeting space. We will come here for trade, for rest, and for peaceful talk. We will see if your vision grows." Taya blinked slowly. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Not because she was overwhelmed, but because her heart felt full in a way she had never felt before. Her tribe had not rejected her. They had not pushed her away. They had recognized her effort and chosen to walk alongside her vision. Elias let out a quiet breath, almost like relief. He had not expected the tribe to accept so peacefully. He stepped forward with a respectful nod and told the elders they were always welcome, that the ranch would offer water, shelter, and safety when needed. His words were simple, but they carried sincerity. After the elders spoke, the younger members of the tribe walked toward the shed, curious and excited. They opened the door and looked inside. They touched the shelves, examined the stone patterns, and whispered to each other about how much work Taya must have done alone. A few of them smiled at her and nodded with respect. Elias watched quietly as the tribe explored the shed. He saw how Taya's eyes softened each time someone understood her intention. He noticed how she stood taller now. Her shoulders relaxed and her breath steady. She had taken a risk, and it had paid off not just for her, but for everyone. After a while, the tribe gathered again in front of the shed. Cowboy spoke one more time. "This place will grow, just as you will grow. It will not always be easy, but you have taken a strong step. We trust you to guide this path." Those words felt like a blessing. Taya bowed her head slightly. She thanked them, her voice steady. She told them she would continue to honor her tribe and her new home. She told them she wanted this place to be a peaceful bond for generations to come. As the tribe prepared to leave, Sani approached Taya privately. She placed a small woven bracelet in her hand, a simple pattern made from dried grass and dyed threads. It was a symbol of connection, given to those who carried responsibility for their people's well-being. Taya held it tightly, feeling its meaning settle into her heart. "You are walking a new road," Sani said, "but you are not walking away from us." Taya nodded. "I know." When the tribe finally rode away, the ranch became quiet again. The dust settled. The wind continued its gentle path across the land. Taya and Elias stood alone near the shed, watching the last horse disappear over the horizon. Elias looked down at her with a small smile. "Looks like your work did more than fix an old shed." Taya laughed softly, a real, warm laugh. She felt lighter than she had in weeks. She looked at the shed with new eyes. It wasn't just a project anymore. It was a beginning. A sign of trust. A step toward unity. Her tribe had accepted it. The ranch would welcome them, and the valley, slowly, might change too. Over the next days, life continued. But everything felt different. Taya planted more seeds behind the shed, choosing plants that represented hope and healing. Elias helped her create a small bench near the garden so visitors from her tribe could sit comfortably. Neighbors began stopping by, not with suspicion this time, but with curiosity. Some even offered materials to help strengthen the shed. Taya found herself speaking more confidently, guiding people, explaining her vision. She didn't feel caught between two worlds anymore. She felt like a bridge connecting them. At night, when the stars filled the sky, she sometimes sat outside the shed alone, looking at the glowing patterns in the dark. The ranch felt like home now, not because she left her tribe, but because she had brought them together in a new way. Elias often sat a short distance away, giving her space but watching over her with quiet care. They didn't need many words. Their understanding had grown naturally steady, respectful, and strong, and the truth was clear. Her decision to stay with the rancher had not separated her from her tribe. It had brought two worlds closer than anyone had believed possible. What she did next, building that shed, creating that space, and offering peace, shocked everyone, but it also changed everything for the better.